Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to URU Complete Chronicles. So the game crashed at the last time. It put us back at the very start position, but everything was saved. So we're now just in third person perspective. We put us back into that also, but it saved WASD configuration. I wanted to mention that I've noticed a glowing sign on the wall here. Perhaps in first person perspective there are some things you would miss. Yeah. For instance, now everything looks very different. Like the lighting up panels are no longer white blocks and visual glitches. So we were having definitely some visual glitches happening. And boy does that look better. Like, but do I want to risk going in the first person perspective? Or do I want to get out of here? Let's get out of here. That was further than we got before. So I'm gonna hit F1 and risk crashing so that we can go back into the mode. So visual glitches on such an old game that has so many other problems, it's not really acceptable. Take note, we don't see an animation being shown here like you would have seen in even the original Myst game. They were playing little videos or slideshows, for lack of a better explanation. This is your home island. This is the lobby. This is the thing that is kind of a genius idea, and it's a shame that even 17 years later nobody has really stolen it as a concept. Maybe some Minecraft servers have done something similar, and weirdly there is a Myst Minecraft mod that is kind of interesting but still doesn't make Minecraft feel like Myst. So we take that, it is our home book, we put it on our belt, and it magically teleports us and the book back to this island. So it makes it seem like your character knows how Myst linking books work. It also violates how Myst linking books work, quite simply because they don't tend to teleport with you to another place when you're touching the Myst book. They fall on the ground. Yeah, that's how it's worked so far. So you have this place which you can jump to your death, and this is the first location that you can jump to your death, and if you do, it will just teleport you inside this building, which, surprise surprise, is just the island that you are on. It's not a bad idea by any means to have a lobby system. Here we have a book that maybe this is DLC stuff that was added later. Here we have a book. I feel like these were added later. Either that or we just have take your choice of going into 4 different locations, which for an MMO, which I guess this would still be classified as a massive multiplayer online game, although it's more of a almost MSO, if such a thing ever could exist, a massive single player game online, considering how so much of this. Here we got some nice little pine trees, but we went from a fairly oppressive empty forested area into an impressive empty skybox of fogginess, much like the Island of Myst, but worse, because there's not even a lot here or puzzles here. So if I was going to remake this game, then I guess one of the things I would do is start with maybe a cutscene to bring the character here, or just start with the character here like in Myst, and then have the other human give you hints if necessary. But I bet you don't even need hints, because hiding 7 tassels in this small island would be fairly difficult to do in a way that wouldn't be really easy and tutorial-y. So yeah, you could have just had the tassels on little flags, little flag staffs or sticks sticking up on the ground, or you could have them under rocks or just lying on the ground. It's not like the wind would actually blow them away or anything. But yeah, I would start the game here. That allows people who have the DLC to jump immediately into that content without doing that first tutorial. Allows people who don't have the DLC to run into this area, and from here we can open the window and look out and see basically nothing. And that also opened up this window and revealed basically nothing. And I believe on this wall are books you can read if you want to do the Skyrim book reading thing. And on this wall you have an electronic system that are fast travel locations, and when you touch them they only so far let you go to those areas. And I think the way this all works is there's one age, different times perhaps, or different instances of the same age for the same worlds. And so you have one world collection here, one world collection here, one world collection here, and then you have a large collection of unlabeled things, which I don't know if you can ever fill in all of these books or not. There's only this book, and this is a wall, and these dividers don't seem like they are really anything. So it does that, and you can see into it, and that's kind of a secondary main lobby area that is pretty obvious was supposed to be an MMO area. And I believe this is a secondary main lobby area. And if I recall correctly, the shell here is kind of the end game area. And this very well may be the DLC section that is talking about what happens after the fact. And this might be the DLC section that's the prequel fact. And it might be that all the rest of this is the main game, because they said 7. There's 6 books here that seem like they're the main game section. So you have this little hub. This, I believe, will just pop up a customization screen. So if we wanted to change something, instead of her being a rabid Myst fan, that would be a possibility. But there is kind of a question. There's a little bit more as far as what more items are you going to collect? Because I kind of feel like you aren't going to get a lot more. And I guess there are some more hair options. We could try for a different haircut. But I don't think you just unlock more. That's the thing, is I don't think you just get more things, and even if you did, that being able to customize your characters a little bit more is not really changing anything, nor is it really making the game feel more like Myst. I guess this might be an undo button, and maybe that's a cancel button, and then you have to load back into that. That'll be the last time we ever mess with the appearance of the character, though. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not going to be playing from third-person perspective. Even if you were, you're not going to see anything but the back of her head or his head. You could play as a male, certainly. So here we have a picture and a book that might be 3. I've forgotten the whole Dunny numbering system. I think this might not be 3. I think this might be something closer to 6 or 7. And we have more of this text, which is not voiced. So if there was certainly going to be a remake of it, I would say let's voice all of that for sure. And let's make sure that there is a option to pop up nice white letters with a black thick outline around them instead of scribbling that is on a papyrus background. I'm gonna pretty much say pause now, like on each one of these if you want to read it, and just go ahead and skip. So we're probably going to miss out the vast majority of the story. It does kind of feel like this are probably notes written by the daughter of Atrus and on her journeys throughout her life, which you kind of never get to see. And you would have thought that would have been a better idea, frankly, is to have and there might be hints to puzzles in this too. For sure, but yeah, having a whole nother trilogy, like after Myst 1 and then Riven and then Myst 3 Exile, the right move would have been, instead of making Myst 4 and Myst 5, would have been to make a sequel trilogy in the sense that the daughter should take over and she should go on adventures with you, and it should be like a co-op game where the daughter is with you and you're going through ages that she didn't particularly write, and then you could have somebody give you some insight and help, which would be very helpful in a Myst game, frankly, as if there was a quest giver always. So here we have found an actual book that's just a journal and cursive. So now when we start to read things like this, does this add anything to our journal, like the numbering system, for instance, or the symbols, or anything at all? No. So I imagine journals are going to be few and far between, and you can't just drag these books down into your inventory. This is a nicely typed up book, which then you have to question how books would be typed, but there's a lot of text there, and this is very possibly just this symbol is the shell symbol. Maybe if you're going to make a remake and remaster of this, you might do some kind of director's commentary feature. That's not a terrible idea to have the creators who worked on this. Unfortunately, I think they mostly are just going to complain about how much time and effort they put on into the game and how it was so poorly received. So it's not going to be that interesting of a story after the first hour or so of complaining. I mean, they can certainly talk about how ambitious this game was and how much they really wanted it to succeed, but at the end of the day, it didn't. And that did at least partially turn the direction of the future Myst games. You never saw anything anywhere as non-linear or ambitious as this game again. Alright, so do we want to do these, or do we leave these? Let's see what this is. This looks like one of the lands of Myst. One of the in the first game. This, I can't even tell what it is. It's really weird that there's no videos playing anymore. This looks like a high-tech age. And that looks like more of a desert age. We probably almost certainly don't want to do a desert age. There's a symbol on top of each of these on the front. You have like a fish on this one. You have a book on that one. You have like a tree on that one. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that those are the DLC sections, and we don't want to do them first. We probably want to start, I mean, wouldn't really hurt to start on this book, I guess. Just start on the left and work our way around. Each time we find a book in a different land, we will bring it back here and lock it in the machine, or it seems like it maybe even magically just appears locked in the machine. So you're not just holding a huge amount of books in your backpack or in your inventory. And if this was some kind of co-op game instead of more of a single player game that just was oddly designed to allow a bunch of people to play at the same time, that would be helpful. But it would also ruin the game, because after about 2 weeks to 6 months, all of the books would have been found, and you could have just jumped to the very ending of the game. In fact, I could probably jump to the ending of the game right now and see how far I can get with it. But I won't do that because that would be silly and spoilerish. So here you have another lobby thing, and you have some weird things. These are clearly asset flips, like this ball. It's a toy, a 3D model toy like the other toys in Myst games where you could look at them and play with them, but they have no real relation to what the actual game is supposed to be. But because this is set, since Deny is underground of the real world, now they can just have a beach ball, which is not very round at all by modern standards, and cones that look particularly bad. And this is just yet another lobby where it doesn't look terrible, but it only makes sense if you planned on 100 people playing the game at the same time. And I imagine there really was never an instance where hundreds of people on average would be in this in the same server in the same world. They probably were working from the perspective that everybody would be on the same server also, which that just doesn't work at all. Here we have just solid red colored lava, it looks like, and a telescope that we can use somewhat, but only to really move left and right. Here we can see at the top there's a blinking red light. Down there is nothing, and to the left is a big building, maybe like a lighthouse. So, a small indicator of what you're supposed to do in this world. Maybe. Here we have a projector that is showing some screenshots of, I suppose, what could have happened. Yeah, let's just look at this for a second, and I'll take a drink. So here you're seeing at most 3 people in a screenshot, and so one of the characters playing with like a watch device. There isn't, I think, really a watch device. Looks like there's a character that looks like he's from Dead Space. I wouldn't be surprised if some people modded in their own outfits. 2003, maybe Dead Space 1 was out at the time and way more popular. If that's the case, this game looks like 2 or 3 generations worse than that. Yeah, that guy looks like he's from Dead Space. I don't think he's supposed to, but he definitely does. Almost certainly these are either just random screenshots that were taken and put into the complete collection to just show you what the world was supposed to be, or people who won a contest or did something. It does look nicer when you're a little bit further away instead of walking right in front of it. You don't, to my recollection, spend a lot of time seeing things like that, though. And you really don't do a lot. Like, see, these were light switches in the previous area, and now they're being used as just light. They were door switches before, and now they're being used as light projectors. Almost as if the technology has no consistency and crystals can do whatever the game creators want them to do, which is totally the case. There's weirdly dark stone walls that look like they might have been paths or doors. There's no real living quarters or anything for players, because that wouldn't really make sense. This game did have an option to see how many audio files you wanted to play at the same time, in the sense that they figured some people's PCs would crash if they tried to play like 25 samples of different audio ambient noises. So this is the idea of apartments, I guess, and you just don't get in them. So you have a number in the Dunny system, which would be a 4-digit number, and then a door. Then you have a different number and a door, and then the light seems to imply that you might be able to go into this area, but you can't. So the light doesn't really do anything. Remember all those people we saved from Riven? None of them apparently were encouraged or allowed to come back to Dunny, which actually gets contradicted in the 5th game, I think, if I recall correctly. I believe, yes, the people from Riven do get brought to Dunny, so if this is supposed to be 100 years later or so, they must have had to abandon it again. Also, the entire society that was frozen in time in Myst 3 Exiles, they apparently were never unfrozen and invited to this new Dunny either, which seems really weird and selfish. and why specific people are hearing a call to rebuild Dunny 100 years later is questionable. Also, why all those specific people seem to be. So I just stuck my wrist in this to probably activate some kind of wrist device, but I don't think I have the wrist device yet. If I do, I storyline wise never picked it up. Like, so you have something here stamped DRC as like a Dunny recovery council. So humans from Earth are coming back hundreds of years trying to rebuild Dunny. I don't know why as a society you would particularly be interested in rebuilding them. It's not like they are the best society ever. They seem to be fairly power mad, considering Atrus is kind of crazy and power mad, and his father-in-law was crazy and power mad, and his sons were crazy and power mad. It seems like power corrupts everyone that comes anywhere close to having the ability to write Myst linking books. Why not just let that power disappear? Again, I don't want to spoil the 5th game, but this theme and thought is spoken directly to in the 5th game. So here we go. The top 10 Heek scores from yesterday are I don't know what Heek is. It must be some game. The Dunny Restoration Council welcomes all new explorers. Remember, safety is number 1. Yeah, it really ruins the whole Myst series. It's so silly. Cones and blockades are for your protection. Please mind the reconstruction. The idea that they figured out technology to put up even images on these projectors is please avoid drinking the lake water. Yeah. I guess this also... DRC has your best interest of mind. Please only use approved linking books. Look for the stamp. The DRC. I guess the danger of using an unapproved linking book is... Here we go. Bunch of fake names for scores. For some kind of game, which is showing the image of the game in the background. Another little desktop toy. So I couldn't read this even if I wanted to. This is either in a fake language or a Middle Eastern language for real. Here we have probably a good point to take a screenshot if I wanted to. Just to remind ourselves how the numbering system works. Let's see. F5. Did that take a screenshot? Let's see. Key map. Next. Take picture. F5. Okay. Well, if that is taking picture, it's not saving them anywhere internally into the game, unlike the save files in even Myst 1. I think you got screenshots then, so you just kind of have to memorize it. Now, in all fairness, most hardcore Myst fans at this point probably do know the Dunny numbering system backwards and forwards. I'm not sure they would know the text system, the reading letters system. This clearly is supposed to be a classroom. Please link to the... Gaffrey is in age to pick up your key, as in Ki, as in the Eastern spiritual energy, I guess. Welcome to Deny. And unless the your key is a Yorkie instead of just a key. Take note that this door shut behind me automatically. That is clearly so that less people are spawned and displayed, even if you were playing with multiple players. Boy, is the game empty, though. It is just completely empty, as it were. Okay. I think that's just a toy. Seeing a bit of a visual glitch over there. Again, I don't think that's a puzzle. I think that's just, hey, do you want to light up this area and see something pretty? Inherently, this is kind of the problem I've seen in Cyan and many other game developers. They get high on the fumes of their own ideas, and they lose a realistic appreciation of what game players would want. So we're in Bevan. For more information, go to the classroom over here, and here we have, let's see, a lot of people that logged in 2004, playing this in 2020. So if this was going to show my name, it would be, 16 years later. And it doesn't seem like it's going to do that. It seems like it's just going to stay at this login, which these are maybe people that funded the game somehow. I vaguely seem to recall that there was something kind of like a Kickstarter around this idea. Some kind of pre-ordering with Game Tap or something for the online version. Alright. So this isn't a visual glitch. This was the multiplayer game in the online version that you can't play in single player, so instead it's just broken. And it's just flickering holographic images. From what I can figure, I think this multiplayer game was actually super popular. Relatively speaking. I mean, it didn't save the game by any means. And it'd be really weird if there was some mini game inside of a Myst game that made it way more successful. Yeah. This is nice. It's always nice when you have Myst worlds that are half organic and half organic and half mechanical. But I think that's kind of where it falls apart after that point, because you have a mechanical age, you have an organic animal age, you maybe have a sound age, and that's kind of all you can do. And here seems like there's maybe something here. I want to teleport out of this area, so I'm not going to jump into the water. I can tell you with fair certainty that you will just automatically teleport yourself back to your home area. this might be where we need to go next. If we walk all around this section and don't really find anything more. What it feels like is that while we will be visiting more of, well, I was calling this Dun'Ee, but they called it Bevan. It feels like we're going to be fairly limited. See, now this is funny because I just played a game with light stands that were kind of poorly used and weren't very pretty, and it was a much more modern game. And now I look at these light stands, and even though they're a little polygon, they work. They work as a light source, but they don't really make sense in a Myst game. Like, honestly, if I was a creator of this game, I would have a huge complaint and argument about integrating the real world as a concept. I would really have a problem with that. I would say, let's not do that. Let's make everything work differently. There's really not a different story being told here if they simply implied that the people of Riven decided to rebuild Dun'Ee, helping Atrus, which is what Atrus said he had been trying to do this whole time, is in the first game, is that he was writing to ensure the age of Dun'Ee didn't fall apart until they could evacuate all the people, which I think at some point they did evacuate all the people of Dun'Ee, or something happened. I don't even know. Here we have a chamber, which all of this stuff obviously played some role at some point. Let's see what this does. It's like in Russian. Sounds like Russian. So it's some kind of audio playback recording. But I don't think there's really a puzzle in that. Remember, what we're looking for are the handprints. And there may not even be but one handprint in this entire area that we've walked through. And yeah, that wouldn't really surprise me much if that's exactly how that breaks down, is that there's one handprint per book. Each book takes you to a different, separate, discrete section of the same age. Maybe not the different times in the same age or anything like that, but maybe just different locations. Here we have what might be some kind of clock. I mean, I guess that would be a way to depict what hour it was. I don't know if it's particularly a good system to tell more precise time than what hour it is, though. Yeah, we came down here. And unless I just wanted to jump in the water, which seems like there's some invisible walls stopping me from jumping in the water. Yeah, there might be a considerable amount of invisible walls stopping me from doing things. Yeah. It kind of ruins the whole point of being able to jump if you can't jump where you want to jump. Yeah, it seems like the only place you can go is this book. So one world to the next world. With a slight load, even though I am totally in a on a computer that really has no justification for load. Here we have a spinning gear, orbital gear, basically spinning and turning 3 planetary gears, I think they're called, on the inside, which then controls this key system, which this is how you control where you can go and where you can't go. Is you have to stick your wrist in here, and then the books, it decides what books, if any, you can open and use. Yeah, the books would come out here, and this would come out here. This is a screen. And so without the key, there's absolutely nothing you can do in this room. Seems kind of crazy that they would lock you into this room and not have you realize that. By the way, apparently we're not going to get any journal entries until we're good and ready. So back here we go. I thought you got a cloth that took you back to this location, but apparently you just have a book. So maybe they did some editing and changed things. So we found a new book that just magically appeared that will take us to that room. And so there's one more book for the Bevan area. And then we have this area. And let's see what the shell area does. Here we have a map that looks like some weird instructions or some weird text being projected. Here we have a world that looks a lot like what Dunny looked like, or where Atrus was writing. Here we have another linking book with no stamp. Here we have the Dunny data book. Pause now if you want to read all this. Pause now if you want to read all this. Pause now if you want to read all this. It feels like this area is set in the future a little bit because it feels more finished, although that really doesn't have to be the case. Could just be that the Dunny Recovery Council, which apparently might very well keep that name forever, even after they're done recovering Dunny, feels like they may have just been more on the ball. And there we go. We just got a new outfit. And here we have 1:38 as a hint. Hint to what? We don't know. And we can stand on this and cause it to spin. And then up here we go. Part of the complaint that I think is legitimately thrownable, 189. Now we found another one. Against the Myst games is the fact that you can very easily walk around and have no idea what you're supposed to be doing, and certainly just not have an idea. Oh, she put on the shirt when you picked it up too, so you're gonna just change outfits like crazy. So yeah, it does a minute and 4. It does kind of feel like if you're gonna remake the series of Myst, there is room for improvement to just kind of improve the breadcrumbing, the gameplay aspect, instead of it being this obtuse puzzle where people potentially are just going to have free time to potentially. Here, let's go ahead and hit F1 for this, so we can see the animation of them pushing those ball upwards. Yeah, instead of people just having infinite amounts of free time like you might have had when playing Myst 1, you have to look at the modern way that people play video games and say, no, people aren't willing to really do that style of gameplay. People are not willing to they're not willing to go through the hassle and the frustration. See, I think the general idea there is we were supposed to push the ball a certain amount. But a minute and 4 seems like a long amount of time. And over here there's nothing it seems like you can interact with. Yeah, you can kind of see with the breadcrumbing also that there's a decent amount of an experience that you could go into this and just highlight the objects that you're gonna click on. Alright. That doesn't do anything. Alright. This one was a minute and 89, 189. We've seen 1 and 4, which none of this makes sense. And I'm not sure if there's something that's supposed to happen here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi, 11 Mississippi, 12 Mississippi, 13 Mississippi, 14 Mississippi, 15 Mississippi, 16 Mississippi, 17 Mississippi, 18 Mississippi, 19 Mississippi, 20 Mississippi, 21 Mississippi, 22 Mississippi, 23 Mississippi, 24 Mississippi, 25 Mississippi, 26 Mississippi, 27 Mississippi, 28 Mississippi, 29 Mississippi, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. So, yeah. And that just locked that up. So that was 1:04. This still doesn't seem like it's changeable. I know that there are some puzzles in this game that are particularly obtuse. But yeah, I also think we're just kind of in the wrong area. Yeah, this locks us in. Yeah, unless the general idea is to stop this from hitting, which is easy enough to do. But there's a question about why. Like, why stop this? Why point this a specific point? Why lock it back up like that? Is there a specific angle? Because they don't kind of lock into specific angles unless there's some other control mechanism. See, yeah, this really feels like one of those ideas that maybe makes a lot of sense to the one person that made it and makes no sense whatsoever to anybody else. Here we have just a bunch of things that you can't click on, can't interact with. Bunch of gears and clockworks trying to give you the idea of time, but it's kind of nothing there. And it's not like this room rotates and you end up in a different place. Although that seems like that might be doable. Yeah, you can kind of see what they were going for here. The idea of a MMO where you just didn't know what was happening, and because you just didn't know what was happening, like, this is the end of the game. Totally. You could just wander around the area and be in awe of the area. Questionable, though. Very, very questionable whether you really would want to wander around areas like this for a very long time, not really knowing what to do. And there is definitely a problem with just being alone. Like, the loneliness is a killer here. Even in Abduction, where you are playing the game effectively alone, you talk to a bunch of characters, and I think that helps quite a bit with the loneliness. But if I was going to remake the whole series, I definitely would have it 2-player co-op with a character talking to you, just a written character talking to you the whole time. Maybe not 2-player co-op, maybe just have a secondary character that talks to you the whole time. Atrus is a great character. Give him more writing and give him a lot more to do, and that would have been ideal in these games. Even if you're just finding audio logs of Atrus, which is certainly something you could have done in a game like this too, is just fill it with audio logs instead of the text-based reading. Yeah. I guess I am in a little bit of a weird position as a Myst fan. I kind of like all the games, but I am not a fan of reading at all. I play video games, I don't read books. And so that does put you at a very contradictory position than what most people would do. I don't remember even being in a world like this. And I know I think I beat all of URU. And I think I beat all of URU in the complete collection. But maybe not. Maybe there are just a lot of extra books strewn around the entire world. It's a nice big area to work your way up to. And I'm running and I'm still not getting anywhere close to this for how big it is. One thing you could do if you had a character like Atrus's daughter or Atrus as your companion, just a Watson to your Sherlock Holmes, they could walk to points of interest and act as a hint system very nicely and just very naturally. So that's a shell symbol, and clicking that probably means I've done everything that needs to happen here. I can't jump up. This is more technical than I would say most Myst mechanical ages are. This looks like somebody was actually trying to make a Final Fantasy sci-fi world instead of just something that has a bunch of gears but still is mostly run by magic or unexplainable technology. And I would definitely argue that trying to explain the ages of Myst is a pointless endeavor. There's a lot of angles in things like this that seem like they just all have infinite invisible walls around it. So there might be a roller coaster ride around this, or it might be that I found the one thing that needed to be found, and then this is just a pretty but unfinished world, which I wouldn't be surprised if it is just yet another pretty but unfinished world. I imagine Cyan got a lot more funding and a lot more free reign than they probably deserved, just because they were super successful with Myst and Riven. I imagine if Ubisoft was going to go into a publishing deal nowadays, they would be way more interested in making sure that the game actually gets finished and comes out and makes money and is popular. Hopefully not to the levels of a company like Square Enix, but sometimes it really does take that level of oversight from a publisher to ensure that something comes out. The only reason I think that URU as a single player game even came out is because of Ubisoft. I feel fairly certain that Cyan, left to their own devices, would have spent another 10 years on it, and this would have just been a Half-Life 3 situation, which even as of now, there is still no Half-Life 3 in 2020. Well, this seems like this would be useful. Sure, it would be nice if you could take a screenshot and save that screenshot in some system. Let's see, what was it? F4? This is going to be dangerous. Yeah, F4 brings up this, which F4 usually means exit, Escape is exit here. You can toggle your key, KI, with F2. And the Real 2 book is F3. I guess that's probably your home hub world is called Real 2. A lot of water. It's nice you can walk in it. That's something new for a Myst game. But it is kind of deep when it would have been better if it was just shallower and easier to kind of run through without it affecting your speed. And boy, could I use a controller support at this point. I could probably use a freeware software like Joy2Key, and that freeware software could probably remap a WASD connection, and you wouldn't really have much of a different experience than what you're having here. So that is something to think about. But playing with a mouse with these controls and these kind of weird first person sort of tank controls, it's not ideal to say the least. Definitely not ideal. Then you have a little texture flickering in because the texture technology and the way it was drawn doesn't work when you get to higher resolutions. And honestly, I'm not sure it ever worked with 100% accuracy. You could probably make a game very similar to this in something like Unity or Unreal Engine, and if they could make it in Unity, that would be better for the Myst series, because then it could be more easily ported to cell phones and non-PCs, which I wouldn't be surprised if there was a oddly high number of people that have like Macs and just iPads that like the Myst games. But as much as I will talk about the idea of remastering this game, they're not even bothering to spend the effort to make a patch to make it widescreen right now. And I don't disagree with Cyan on that decision. Like, it totally makes sense that they should work on their new game Firmament and establish a new style of a new thing that represents their company, instead of it being just remasters and re-releases of Myst, because we've had enough of that. And a new remake and a new remaster at some point is not completely off the table. They also did a very, very nice thing by getting Kickstarter money and spending the effort to get the rights to Myst 3 and Myst 4 so that they could sell all the games in one bundle. But Firmament needs to succeed. Abduction needs to succeed. This feels almost like this is some kind of weird thresher type farming equipment or mining equipment, because it feels like this tube up here should be harvesting something, even though we see basically no plant life. So maybe it's mining something? I don't know. Like, I don't know what this... There's blades that look like they'd mine something or other, but that's as much as I can figure out. this gets us that far. Let's see if this lever is pullable. Okay. Cool. Cool. We disconnected that part. Now we're getting sent up as an elevator. And this is what the whole game is. Wandering around, pulling levers, and not really knowing what the levers are supposed to do. I imagine that is a button to call the unit back if they somehow find a way to trap yourself. And then we have what looks like a round place. That's about as much as I can figure from it. I guess maybe you need 7 of these. 2. Seems like 7's gonna be the lucky number. And it seems like the game auto-saves without even telling you that it auto-saves when you do click those. We've got a giant windmill with some brown muddy water, which with modern technology the water looks so good compared to the terrible textures otherwise. I imagine there probably has been some kind of patch to make the water reflections look even better. This is a weird usage by far of a 2080 RTX to play a 17-year-old game. Yeah, in all fairness, ray tracing, really nice graphics, great way to go if you were going to remaster the Myst games or remake them. Make everything very pretty, make everything one consistent modern controller interface way. So you probably would play as like a third person or first person perspective game with a controller on all the Myst games, including Myst 1 and Riven, if you were going to remake the whole series. I don't know how you make the argument, though, that sometimes you can't turn any further when you're right clicking and left clicking at the same time. I don't know how you make the argument to yet again remaster Myst. The Myst Masterpiece Edition remastered already exists. I don't think you can sell it for the 4th or 5th time to people. People would buy it, certainly, because Myst fans are kind of suckers. Let's just be honest. I'm including myself in that. But I don't know how people really could justify that reselling. So it seems like we do need to send the thing off. Interesting. We're getting some background music, which we are going to need more of that, certainly. Another big problem is there really is no end point to any of this. Like, we're not going to clear one land without going to several different lands. We're not going to it's just not going to happen. So when I come over here and try and pull this, it goes in the third person mode. And if I try to walk back here, I make it. So one assumes that that was intentional, particularly since it had a callback button. I would also argue, another thought here, instead of the Dunny reconstruction project council existing and you just being the latest person to be called back to Dunny, why not make the character you're playing as be a little bit special? Be the person that finds Dunny after 100 years and establishes the council. It leaves the world open for a sequel to URU that probably should have happened first and foremost. You could have found a note or recording audio log from Atrus telling you to find Dunny and rebuild it, and then you'd be in a better position. They clearly wanted to have a world with pipes and ladders and elements that could have been from any other Ubisoft game. Maybe Ubisoft demanded some of that too. So that circuit breaker is now enabled. But I kind of would prefer just to see the ancient technology alone and assume that these pipes that we're seeing are the ancient technology and not something that could have potentially been instituted by the Dunny Recovery Council, which maybe has been trying to rebuild Dunny for hundreds of years and seems to have not only the expertise to actually accomplish that, but the funding. Like, it's a big question to be asked about all of that. It's like, how would you fund all of this? How do you even get back to Earth to get resources? If I was teleported magically away from Earth, not knowing that I was going to be teleported away, I would not have any resources really on me. I doubt a cell phone would be too useful as an object without getting signal. Here we have 481. So I'm just gonna have to take a screenshot of all these times, but I imagine what I'll have to do is use a walkthrough. Like, I know that there's a solution to at least one puzzle where you are just kind of standing for a certain amount of time, and it would be kind of crazy to stand for multiple times. So that's rusty water. Here we have clean water. Over there we have rusty water again. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just end it here, I think. Yeah. As far as our journal, we have not found anything. We are exactly where we were basically at the beginning of this hour. In reality, sure, we found plenty of stuff, and at the very least, the game didn't crash, nor did we see any noticeable visual glitches, nor are we having to just rage quit on the entire series. But yeah, I am almost certainly going to have to use a walkthrough. I'm right now running around in the DLC section. Obviously, if the sections I'm seeing are DLC sections, then the 4 books on the island must actually be the initial sections of the game, and they must just feel backwards. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.